our guest was able to ascertain that the probability of them going back on this sealed presidential ticket was very low. But now that we can see that they are trying to appeal and get it, that's a very interesting one. Group congratulates Oronko on his emergence as a court candidate for Oyo Central. Police rescue kidnapped victims, kill suspected abductor in Kogi forest operation. It's nice to see that our armed forces, police and army, they're doing their best to end insecurity in the country. Federal government partners intensify push for affordable locally made medicine. I hope the people can trust that. On page 7, we have court bars FRSC from operating on Kano Township Road. Award lawyer 800,000 naira damages. Benga Ashim receives SDP presidential candidate as talks intensify. Naira strengthens as exchange rates gap narrows to historic low. NEPL Seplat Energy empowers 110 youth, strengthens inclusive education in Edo communities. On the interview, over 300 people were killed in one day, 176 still in captivity in Kwara, yet our government is inactive, says Adamu Isa, the Kwara PDP chairperson. Moving on from that, on page 10, we heard our tribesmen robbing people and evil spirits took over us, says suspect. This is continued from the page 3. Man arrested for burning 10-year-old daughter's private part with hot iron for bedwetting. This is very serious and very sad. Orire Saga and Makide's call for global scrutiny. Women's wealth and wills. Your salary is not your problem. Your lifestyle is. As funny as that sounds, it's very, very true. Your lifestyle is the problem. I built my wife a house, spent millions that she could be pregnant, only to discover she's married to someone else. Interesting. This is on marriage and divorce, and there's a funny picture of the man yelling at his wife here. Eminent Nigerians bid ex-Ogun First Lady's mother farewell. Okay. Kogi school attacked by bandits, not a miracle center, says NECO. On airtime lending, courts to decide fate of 40 million airtime borrowers, July 20. That's very funny. We wanted to attack our rivals, but we attacked policemen, Oshodi gang leader says. This is on feature of the Saturday Tribune. Lautech Orire's Thanksgiving. My wife is not a forester like me, but she experienced in 2 months what I learned in 36 years, Professor Alamu. We prayed for return of our loved ones and God answered us, says the VC. We have how 5-year-old girl spent 8 days in captivity before police rescue. I was cheated by my gang member on ransom paid, says suspect. And we have a picture of both of them, in handcuffs here. That's a very funny story. What do you mean you were cheated? Something you're not supposed to do? Shekhar. Now let's move on from that. That's an advert. Wife still struggle with making sexual advances in marriage. This is on intimacy, strictly for the adults. On kids and teen, what I would do if I were governor of my state. So interviews from 12-year-olds and 10-year-olds. Like adults, children have dreams, ideas, and concerns they long to express through different platforms. And in this interview, we've been able to hear what kids and teens would rather do if they were the governor of their state. You should check it out. Mom and child, disrupted rest linked to anxiety, pregnant women urge to prioritize sleep. And moving on to the sports segment now of the Saturday Tribune. Iheanacho agrees Bursapor deal. Glasgow 2026. Amuson arrives in Aberdeen camp. On the back page of the Nigerian Tribune, case for replicating the Oyo kidnap rescue template nationwide. This is note from Atlanta. World Cup, Mbappe eyes more goals as France, England clash. And that's as much as we can take on the Saturday Tribune this morning. Now let's take the nations. On the front page, Oyo abductions, 3 face 10-count terror kidnapping charge, and this is on page 4. Federal government plans arraignment for next week. Mary Abila's father demands probe transfer, release of body. Last night of late nurse. Tinubu signs executive order on virtual assets, establishes council to harmonize crypto regulation. No cause for alarm over U.S. aid, says Jimoh Ibrahim. The UN Permanent Representative says New America Initiative de-emphasizes aid, and this is on page 5. Now that's all we have on the front page. Now let's take stories inside of the nation. Benue mother reunites with missing baby weeks after auto crash. This is a very exciting one, and we are happy for them. Happy Skulls, Human Skulls, AK-47 rifles recovered as teenager lead police to horror forest camp. Sadly, Ghanaian TikToker jailed for claiming president buried 32 cows to secure election victory. Father allegedly burned 10-year-old daughter of private part for bedwetting. We saw that earlier. Supreme Court OK's final forfeiture of properties, $2 million linked to Emefiele. All right, Anambra teacher flogs 12-year-old student to death and flees. This is on page 3 of the Nation. That's a very sad one. How badly do you want to discipline a child that you would do it that way? On page 4, we have Oyo abductions. 3 Niger indigenes face 10 counts terrorism kidnapping charge. The federal government plans arraignment for next week. IGP honors slain offer, hails rescue team. And we have the picture of the 3 suspects that were arraigned. Kidnap victim narrates how drone helicopter made kidnappers flee. This is from Osage in Benin. Tinubu signs executive order on virtual assets. That's on page 5 of the Nation this morning. No cause for alarm over U.S. aid, says Jimoh Ibrahim. Near competition, IGP over fake Niger insurance management. On page 6, court rejects Wabara, other suit seeking recognition of Turaki-led PDP leadership. NBA invites DSS ICPC to monitor national officers' election. The president denies rigging claims, says poll process was independent. On commentary of the Nation this morning, how prepared are APC, ADC, NDC for 2027? And that is on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. So if you want to know, you can read that further. On page 8, Oshun Guba, lessons from Ekiti. On page 9, we have Oyo's 56 days siege, military as national treasure, and Osoba at 87. Moving on from that, we have on page 11, the last night of Mary Abila. This is on Weekend Live. Continuing that story from page 11, we have it also on page 12. Still on page 12, Benin 33 killed in fresh hardness farmers attacks. On page 13, Canvassing the Arts of China, 3 top cities in 7 days. And this is on the travel log of the Nation's newspaper. So if you like to travel, you definitely love this page. Rejoiner on the false narrative surrounding Alhaji Ahmed Tajuddin Akanbi. This is on page 14. And we have a picture here of familiar foes, Argentina-Spain battle for World Cup crown. That's on the spot Familiar foes, Argentina-Spain battle for World Cup crown. Wow, this is interesting. France and England renew hostilities in Burns play-off. On Saturday politics, we have Bago's second-term puzzle, how Christian mobilization is shaping deputy governor's race. Uba Sani and Urban renewal in Kaduna, that's on page 19. On page 20, how Ogun builds grassroots fortress against insecurity. Uba Sani and Urban renewal in Kaduna. This is continued from page 19. I've never been ashamed of my humble beginnings, says Funke Akindele. Why many celebrities keep quiet on national issues. This is coming from Yvonne Jegede. Ex-housemates credits the BBN Niger as career launch pads. Partly true. Babadi says mutual respect is key to successful relationships. Royal Star eyes breakthrough ahead of debut album. This is still on page 22. Comedy lovers defy heavy rains as Ajebo shuts down a hotel. That was a very exciting one. Alex Unusual urges men to break culture of emotional suppression. Is on page 23 of The Nation. Moving on to page 24. Honorable Omokpe, transforming Bariga LCD8 for sustainable development through the renewed hope agenda. On page 30, Tinubu hails Bart Naji at 70, praises power sector contributions. 3 died, 4 injured in ghastly motor accident in Anambra. Doraemond, ex-Minister of Science and Technology. Okpebolo swears in first visually impaired permanent secretary. Food Agriculture Awards open nomination across 5 African countries. And on the sports segment of The Nations this morning, World Cup final brings pride to Yamal's neighborhood. Bayern boys Olise. Kane clash for Burns milestone in Miami. From Peru to Argentina, newborns named after World Cup stars. Messi raps critiques. Nothing was handed to Argentina. Interesting. And still on the sports segment, Sports Extra, Iheanacho joins Busapo on 1-year deal. Burna Boy returns in historic World Cup final halftime show. New era girls set for 81 to 86 build basketball and volleyball courts for Alma Mater. That's all we have on the sports segment. And on the back page, we have Messi Argentine dance. And that's as much as we can take on The Nation this morning. Good morning from
All right, thank you very much, Florence. And that's it on the newspaper review this morning. We'll be going over to, see what the governor was up to during the course of the week. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
That was the newly appointed Commissioner for Establishments and Training, Dr. Labode Ladipo, who took the oath of office and allegiance administered by the Permanent Secretary, Cabinet Office. In his address, the State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, who announced a major cabinet reshuffle, reassigning Professor Saliu Adelabu to the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Investment and Cooperative, said the appointment reflects the administration's commitment to deploying experienced personnel where their expertise is most needed, emphasizing that changes in government appointments are driven by the demands of governance rather than performance of individual appointees.
This is just a demonstration that when we serve the state. It's a privilege. You have so many people that are qualified. So at any particular time, you have to pick and choose. Oh, if I ask a commissioner or an appointee, to leave their position, it doesn't necessarily mean that they've done anything bad.
Governor Makinde tasked the new commissioner with consolidating the reforms already introduced in the state civil service, particularly in the area of institutional restructuring, manpower development, and staff training. He noted that before his administration came into office, opportunities for capacity building, especially foreign training for civil servants, were limited, adding that his government has significantly expanded such opportunities.
The little time that we still have left, we promised the people of Oyo State that we will serve them until the last hour of the last day. So with the little time we have left, there's still a lot that we can achieve.
Recall that Dr. Ladipo previously served as the Oyo State Commissioner for Health between October 2021 and July 2023, following his appointment during the cabinet reshuffle in Governor Makinde's first term. At the commencement of the governor's second term in 2023, Dr. Ladipo was not reappointed into the State Executive Council. He subsequently returned to Oyo State Civil Service, where he was appointed Permanent Secretary at the Governor's Office General Administration. The rescued teachers and pupils escorted in a convoy of the Nigerian Army, led by the General Officer Commanding GOC 2 Division, Nigeria Army, Major General Chinedu Nebeife, arrived at the Governor's Office, Agodi, Ibadan, at exactly 4:11 p.m. Upon arrival, the victims were ushered into the Executive Council chamber, where they were formally received by the Oyo State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde. In his address, the State Governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, assured the rescued teachers and pupils abducted from schools in Orire local government that the state government will provide all necessary support to aid their recovery and ensure that their education and careers are not disrupted. The governor expressed gratitude to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all the security agencies for their coordinated efforts, which led to the safe rescue of the victims after 56 days in captivity.
We will also keep supporting you, especially during this period. They will still need to continue to see all of you, but I believe that we need another maybe 24 hours or 24 to 48 hours maximum to allow you to go home. The parents should be allowed to have access to them. But once we are sure that health-wise, because we don't want any disaster after this, we want to be sure that medically you're okay. We want to be sure that also while you're being reunited with your family members, we can provide support that will at least take you through this immediate home.
The governor, however, maintained that the victims will remain under medical observation for another 24 to 48 hours, and the headquarters, 2 Division Medical Service and Hospital, Odogbo Barracks, Ibadan, to enable doctors complete necessary medical assessment before they are reunited with their families. Earlier in his address, the GOC 2 Division Nigeria Army, Major General Chinedu Nebeife, said the rescue operation focused on identifying and dismantling the terrorist network, cutting off their logistic, informants, and blocking their major supply routes, which eventually forced the kidnappers to release the victim unconditionally. Major General Nebeife commended President Bola Tinubu, Governor Seyi Makinde, and all participating security agencies for their unwavering support, stressing that the successful rescue was a product of coordinated intelligence, sustained military pressure, and interagency collaboration.
Only thank the executive governor of Oyo State, Engineer Seyi Makinde. He has been very supportive. I put it on record today. He has been supporting the military and, of course, other security agencies in Oyo State.
In a message, the principal of the affected school, Mrs. Rachel Alamu, who recanted the harrowing 56-day ordeal, said the victims were under difficult conditions in the forest, but never lost hope of returning home alive. She disclosed that the kidnappers repeatedly used fear, psychological intimidation, claiming that the government had abandoned efforts to secure their release.
On May 15, a Friday that started work, ended in chaos for us, and for 56 days we were in the bush. It was a harrowing experience, but we thank God for seeing us through.
A minute silence was observed in honor of the slain teachers, security personnel, and other victims who lost their lives during the rescue operation. The handover officially transferred the rescued victims to the Oyo State government, bringing an end to weeks of uncertainty and anxiety for the victims and their families and the people of the state.
It's your 100% money. Babe, I think you want to spend this much on hair. Since your landlord just increased rent, I still for this one separately on money points. You see money points.
This is what our money points here. The array of your dryer there is titled savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my stop is this savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
Why did I don't contribute to it? Why should I? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You know, go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you shoot. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Hadaku, wow, open money points account.
Money point made for your progress.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, that was the governor's activities through the course of the week. And right now, we'll be heading to Abeokuta. Let's take a look at Olumorok. Stay with us.
Olumorok is one of the tourist destinations in the West African country, where some indigenes of Egbaland hide during a civil war, which broke out in the 19th century. The rock served as a shelter for many of the survivors who are said to have hidden in specific areas inside the caves, located on the rocks to evade attacks from enemies. One of such is Madam Sinatu Aduke Soni, popularly called Iya Orisha or Iya Olumo. Madam Sinatu Aduke Soni, according to her, has witnessed the coronation of about 4 Alake of Egbaland, while she also delivered her first child inside one of the caves on the rock. Saudi special crew went in search of this 136-year-old woman in Abeokuta. Currently, Olumorok is under lock due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and so Iya Orisha has been moved to his Itoko Abeokuta residence pending the time the rock will be reopened. In 1864, Abeokuta was attacked by Daomi. During this period, the parents of Sinatu migrated to the top of the Olumo Rock to hide for protection. So, it was no surprise that they got so used to the rock that they returned there years back. Sinatu Aduke Sani was born on Friday, August 15, 1884. That was 3 months before the Berlin Conference. On September 6, 1917, Sinatu was a part of the mass rally at the palace of Alake of Egbaland, just like most women of her age. And by 1918, when there was a massive Abeokuta riot, the 34-year-old retired back to Olumo Rock, and she lives there even till now. Sinatu grew up under the Olumo Rock, and she has witnessed the coronation of about 4 Alake of Egbaland, including the September 28, 1963 coronation of Prince Adesina Gbadebo as the Alake of Egbaland. Iya Orisha spoke to the crew, even though not really coherent, but she still recollects some of the events of many years ago.
Báwo lẹ ṣe dábí Olúmọ màmá? Ìgbà wo lẹ débẹ̀ kí lẹ àwọn ọ̀gá tẹ̀ ń ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀? Kí mélòó ló ti jẹ lójú yín? Ṣé ẹ lè dárúkọ màmá? Orúkọ wọn.
Our first child, Ganiyat Sani, also recalled the events that led to her mother relocation to Olumo Rock.
Ọ̀rọ̀ nípa màmá ó pọ̀ torí èmi tí mo jókòó yìí Olúmọ ń bẹ̀ oyún mi ni wọ́n gbé dé Olúmọ ń bẹ̀ torí màmá Muslim ni màmá tí màmá dẹ̀ ń kírun dáadáa ó dàbòrò olóríṣà máa ń sá fún wọn ni àmọ́ gbà tí olóyún mi tí wàhálà ìdé wọn náà fi kó bá dé Olúmọ kó tó lè bí ọmọ yẹn ó dẹ̀ lọ ó náà àwọn èèyàn tán wà ń bẹ̀ tó jẹ́ wípé ìdílé bàbá wọn lóríṣà yìí wà ó dẹ̀ lọ síbẹ̀ nígbà tó dẹ̀ débẹ̀ ibẹ̀ ló dẹ̀ ń gbé títí ó fi bí mi síbẹ̀ olóyún nígbà tó di wípé olóyún mi náà wọn náà fi kó rárí òrìṣà yẹn nínú oyún mi náà ló wà tó fi rárí tó fi ṣe gbogbo nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn àmọ́ gbà tó dé máa bímọ omi ibẹ̀ ló ń fún un ò ṣe gbogbo kan fún ò ṣe nǹkan kan fún kílẹ̀ mọ́ tó bomi ibẹ̀ tó fi wẹ̀ tó dẹ̀ ti di kínní tó bomi tó mu tó fi wẹ̀ tó tán nǹkan tó ń ṣe nìyẹn títí ó fi bímọ yẹn òun lò náà ṣe wá gbàgbọ́ wípé òrìṣà tó gbá òun níṣòro yìí tó ń kó fi lé ayé òun sílẹ̀ fún Olúmọ ó wà fún mi pé tó bá ń bẹ lọ́hùn tó bá dolúmọ Olúmọ á gbà tó bá dẹ̀ jẹ́ yí pé iṣẹ́ yìí náà ló bá ń wá tó bá dolúmọ tá bá bá ẹbẹ̀ bá ṣe ń bẹ̀ ó máa gbà kò sí ìṣòro tó lè ní tó bá dolúmọ Olúmọ á sọ di pẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ fún ẹ.
Before BCOS left the residence of Mama Orisha, the old woman sent message to all Nigerians, and the message is, we must all be sincere and honest to move the nation forward. When next you visit Abeokuta, endeavor to visit Olumo Rock and also visit Mama Sinatu Aduke Sani. It's been Lekan Shobowale reporting for Saturday Special.
Bẹ́bá fẹ́ mọ́lùmọ́, ẹ lọ ṣe bàbá Olúmọ. Bẹ́bá fẹ́ mọ́lùmọ́, ẹ lọ ṣe bàbá Olúmọ. Bẹ́bá dìde kìjà kẹ́ dúró wá bá ọ̀tún ẹ̀. Bẹ́bá dìde kìjà kẹ́ dúró wá bá ọ̀tún ẹ̀. Ọ̀nà wo lẹ o
Olumo Rock right there. Thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, it's still Saturday special. And this morning, we will be taking a look at the Orire release, the rescue mission. We will be having a critical analysis of the rescue mission. And of course, all that went down, during the past 1 week, talking about the rescue mission, the release of the abductees. We also saw the arraignment of 3 of the 8 arrested suspects yesterday. They were paraded, and of course, they've been charged on 10 counts. Let's see. We'll be looking critically at these issues and, of course, talking about security as a whole in Nigeria. But before I introduce our guest, after spending 56 days in captivity, the abducted victims of the May 15 attack in Orire local government area of Oyo State were eventually reunited with their families. While their release brought relief and celebration, it has also reignited conversations around the effectiveness of Nigeria's security architecture, intelligence gathering, rescue operations, ransom negotiations, and measures to prevent future abductions. This morning, we critically examined the rescue mission, the lessons learned, and of course, the broader implication for security in Oyo State and Nigeria. To do justice to this conversation this morning, we have in the studio a scholar, and he's a scholar, a security scholar, and a lecturer at the University of Ibadan. Talking of Dr. Shola Ishola. Doctor, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to have you talk about security issues.
Thanks for having me.
Let's critically analyze the rescue mission that went down last week. Friday was jubilation galore in Oyo State and even in Nigeria when the news of the rescue mission, of the release of the abducted or rescue of the abducted 44 students and teachers in Orire broke. Let's critically, your own personal analysis of the rescue mission, Doctor.
Well, my own feelings about the rescue is that of giving thanks to God, especially because the casualties during the entire process were very minimal. I mean, it could have been worse. So, it was nice that we, eventually we got them rescued. And I think that activities should mark the beginning of the end of kidnapping and terrorism in Nigeria because of the tactics that was adopted. And, it is very close to the tactics that was adopted in the Middle East to end the suicide bombing activities that was very prevalent at a point in time, that you hardly have that kind of situation again now in Israel, in Palestine, or the entire Middle East. And I think if we intensify that perspective of counterterrorism effort, it could also signify the end of those fellow. But of course, it will have to be combined with some other, activities to eventually put an end to that particular menace. That's just my perspective.
So, talking of putting an end to this issue, Doctor, just on Tuesday we saw another abduction happened in Kogi State. Of course, it was also in a school. 4 students sitting NECO, and of course a teacher and I think a NECO adult staff. They were also abducted, but luckily about on Friday, on Thursday, they were rescued. Of course, we are thankful for that. But looking at the trend of school abduction in Nigeria, before we come back to this Orire issue, it's looking like we are beginning to make it a norm in Nigeria. How can we make sure students go to school, and they do not have this fear of leaving their house, even for parents? They do not have fear of leaving their houses to go to school for the fear of unknown.
You see, that process escalated. That particular, invasion of schools escalated because school is a very vulnerable, soft target. And of course, most schools are not adequately secured. So it was very easy for the kidnappers to invade schools and kidnap pupils and teachers. And then in the past they've done this several times and it was profitable. That was why it was persistent. They made a lot of money from it. The only solution to it is to strengthen the security in our schools. And it's possible, if the government shows sufficient responsibility and commitment to protecting schools, within our environment. And if the communities themselves are also determined that the security of their children and their education is very close to their heart, because they are the first line of defense before the official security people comes in. So if the commitment comes from all the sides, I think we'll have an end to it, and it will be very soon, because it's not something that is so tasking. It's just that the community must show sufficient commitment, and then the government should produce resources.
But when you say it's not something that is so tasking, how come children are spending, or people spend so many days in captivity without talking about rescue in sight? You see, the response system was very slow in coming, and that was why that one persisted. But now, you see, we have very competent security people. If only the government is able to produce resources to work for them. Many of those security guys have attended counterterrorism institutions abroad, Europe, America, the Middle East. So they were competent. There is no doubt about the competence of our security people. But the resources and the equipment to work is often the challenge. And once all of these are taken care of, I think, like I said, it could signify the beginning of the end.
But you mentioned profitable now. And I'm wondering, we've had cases where we don't get these children back, or maybe not all of them back. So if you're talking profitable, is it actually the fact that it's being profitable, or maybe there's something else to it, like maybe education system in Nigeria is under attack and they don't want people to go to school anymore?
You see, that's why I'm saying that it has been profitable. Of course, the primary objective of the terrorists that we are battling with is to stultify education across the country. They said Western education is an haram. That's their primary objective. But it's the government that should say, no, we are not going to allow you. But, in the past, there have been, in quotes, rescue operations where government have parted with huge amount of money, where people in the communities are parted with huge amount of funds to get their children released and to get other individuals released. So to that extent, it has been profitable, and that's why they have expanded it. For example, it was a phenomenon that was identified with the northeastern part of Nigeria. Gradually, it moved to the middle belt and gradually to the northwest. Okay, now it's coming to the southwest. Okay, so if effort had been made, like it was made to rescue those children, if effort had been made in the past to make sure that the efforts of the kidnappers were frustrated, it wouldn't have festered to the extent that we're having it now. Talking about the community, I said the community is the first line of defense, to the extent that when these things happen, if they had contingency plans in place, okay, instead of beginning to raise funds to rescue, to bail out those kidnapped, children, they would have, gone further to provide at least primary basic security for those schools. So even if you are going to make an attempt, they will make sure that the attempt is frustrated no matter what, and then before the intervention of the official security people. So I'm still insisting that a lot still depends on the communities, because it's their children.
Doctor, you said two things there. You mentioned that security architecture or our armed forces are well trained And you also said they are not putting in enough effort. Now, it feels like,
I'm not saying they are not putting enough effort. I'm saying the government is not putting sufficient resources to encourage them to work. And, where those resources are provided, that's the kind of results that we get in this Urire scenario.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. We have our second guest in the studio with us this morning. He is Comrade Rotimi Agboluaje, a policy analyst. Comrade, good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Good morning to you, my sister. Doc, good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning to you.
All right. Talking of, the Urire abductees, and we are critically or just analyzing the rescue mission and all that went down within the past 1 week when they've been released. Let's have your own view of the rescue mission, your personal assessment.
Well, we thank those that did it. The security agencies, the federal government and state government. At least eventually those people they were rescued eventually. I think that's the most important thing. We also commiserate with the families of members that lost their life, the teacher, three teachers, military officer that died in the process. We commiserate with their family and we are with them, and we pray God will comfort them. Then, how do we get to this point? It's because of negligence on the part of the state. I'm not talking about the state government. I'm talking about the country. People that have gone to that place, they say the land is very vast. The Old Oyo National Park. That is on ungoverned space. How you live on ungoverned space for a very long time, and insecurity is destroying the country, and insecurity is happening all over the West Africa sub-region, and we just left that place unattended to. They expectedly such a thing cannot be far from such an area, because you look at that place. From there, we share a border with Kwara State. People say from that Kwara State you can navigate yourself to Niger State, a very vast forest. Nobody is occupying that place. From there you can go to Kebbi State. From there you can go to Benin Republic. And on government space that nobody is taking care of them. Although people are saying some forest guards are there, but what is the capacity of forest guards in a vast forest that cover 2 countries? And there's even more than a lot of countries in Europe. I think we've slept too much. That's my assessment of the whole thing. We slept too much. But all said and done, we are able to rescue these people. I think we need to put some things in place to ensure this thing does not occur again. Otherwise, we are just playing.
When we say it doesn't occur again, are you saying in Nigeria or in Oyo State? Because we saw a recurrence last week, yes, in Kogi State, where students were abducted in school, teachers were also abducted, but luckily they've been released. So when we talk about recurrence of issues like this, it feels like we are still talking about it currently. It feels like we are still sitting on a time bomb in Nigeria currently. And of course, talking of the Old Oyo National Park you mentioned, it's a federal government territory. Now, when we have parks like this in states or in some states, that it's supposed to be the federal government's responsibility. But for the sake of the state's safety, and of course, those that are residing in the state, how do you think, what measures do you think state governments themselves should put in place for the safety,
for security of
securing those parks?
Well, ordinarily, if you look at our constitution, the issue of security is, as we speak now, we are not talking about the amendment that is going on. The issue of security is on the exclusive list. That means the federal government, only the federal government can legislate when it comes to security. But mind you, that is theoretical. When you talk about what is obtainable, at the state level, we have Amatekun now. Even the police that is the federal institution, the state government pump a lot of money into police system to ensure that the state are safe. Whether we like it or not, notwithstanding that we are saying that the issue of security belongs to the federal government, the states still have a critical role to play. I think some states are also actually playing that role, because that's why they call them chief security officer. Although some people are saying that they are not chief security officer, they are chief logistic officer. But whether we like it or not, they are still the chief security officer of the state. If anything happens in the state, notwithstanding that security belongs to the federal government, they will still talk about the state government, that state government has not done well. But all said and done, whether the state government or the federal government, all levels of government need to cooperate. Federal, state, local, even the community. Policing is now going to what is called community policing now. And that is obtainable in some country. I think that's what we need to do, collaborative policing, so that the whole country, the whole state, the whole community, the whole world, and the whole street could be safe. That's the way to go.
Dr. Shawa, you seem like you wanted to add.
Yes, I mean, just to reinforce what he just said, this perception that it is only government that is responsible for, for the security of the community is an old, it's an old idea. Because, we are the ones living in our community. We even understand our community than the government. And so, it is more of negligence if we decided to just entrust our security to government.
So what are we going to do to,
Yeah, I think we are beginning, because there is hardly any community now that is not, taking action concerning their security. Some have actually adopted traditional security system, getting the vigilantes together and all other private entities to guard them. I think that's the beginning. It's just the beginning. Okay, the issue of intelligence is also critical, because we know that there's no community that could have as strong a force, as the government, and so to that extent, you need to provide information and intelligence to the government and official security system, so that they can protect us. We are not doing them any favor if we are providing such information. Some will say, yes, they are not trustworthy. If you give them information, it might boomerang, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's your perform your own responsibility first. And then if there are, lapses, that can be made up of. So we are still the first line of the security. And if we don't provide information, there's nothing the government, can do. Even if you pour all resources into the policing system, if the communities are not responsive, it will not be effective. So it begins with us, and then, we'll give information to the official security system.
All right. Looking at your Riri incident now, what factors do you think might have contributed to the release of these abductees? I know the Nigerian Army came out to talk about how they used their family members as a bait. I'm talking of those terrorists now for them. And eventually they released those victims because they didn't want their families also to be abducted, to be affected. And I asked myself, oh, you really love your family. And you held some other people's families.
They are human beings too.
Yeah, they are human beings. But what's to talk about the conscience of these terrorists, the mindset, apart from using their family members? Now, what other factors do you think the Nigerian Army must have used to influence the release of these victims?
You see, it's not only the Nigerian Army, it's a collective effort of all the security.
Exactly, the DSS.
And what I saw there is a classical counter-terrorism effort. I told you that I'm also conscious of the fact that, several of our security men have been sent to counter-terrorism institutions abroad. And, this is the kind of thing we are seeing. In the past, what we have experienced, from knowledgeable sources, is that these guys want to take certain actions. Even the elements in government are the one that will be discouraging them. We all witnessed what happened during the last administration when they want to take some steps, and then people in government, I'm not naming anybody, but we all know the government we are talking about, we say, they are children, you have to take it easy with them. They will repent, they will do this, they will do that. But terrorists don't repent like that. Like I told you, this effort could serve as the end to the terrorism and kidnapping incident that we are having. And I mentioned how suicide bombing was put to an end. I can see some of the elements, some of the tactics that ended suicide bombing in the Middle East in this effort that they have been taking. And only if they could intensify, this kind of strategy and tactics, if we are able to intensify that very, very soon, it won't even take long. very, very soon we are going to see the end to all of these dastardly acts. And then one important thing that is also happening now that I'm commending is that the terrorists are beginning to see consequences of what they are doing. Several of them were eliminated, like we were informed, and it is actually true, because at a point in time, the security people engaged them, and it was during that process that we get as casualty, and they also got their own casualties. When they know that consequences are certain, they will think twice before they do that. Now, many of them will be jailed. Some could even be hanged if we have a very good judicial decision. Because somebody who severed the head of another human being should not even be jailed. He should be killed. That is just it. So if the consequences are certain and they occur, I can assure you that it will soon end. They're talking about, they are also human beings. They also love their own family. No matter what drug you take, when the drug wears out, you face the reality. That is exactly what has happened. When they saw evidences that already their family members are facing the consequences of their action, they will begin to think twice before they even take further action. So those are some of the elements of counterterrorism tactics that I was that I was talking about. So if all of these things are intensified, definitely very soon we will see the end to these things.
Speaking about consequences, we've seen the development of the 3 suspects that were arraigned and are going to court this Monday. Well, there are a lot of controversies around that as to why is it that it's just 3 people that
have been
arraigned. And what happens to the remaining 5 that they claim they arrested? And why are we not seeing their faces? I was happy to see 3 of the suspects' faces in the paper this morning. But what happened to the other 5? Why are we not seeing them? And people are wondering, did they actually arrest 8, or are there some kind of benefits or something to the other 5? Why are they leaving them out of the equation?
Comrade, before you answer that question, we have a commercial break. When we return, you go through into that question. Please stay with us.
Excuse me, this your 100% woman here.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Since your landlord just increased rent, I saved for this one separately on money points.
No, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here, the array of your dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fees savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
What's up? Why did German won't contribute to you? Why should they? Come on, you go give your money to Adaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You don't go open a savings account. Now Adaku you shoot. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Adaku, wow, open money points account.
Money Point, made for your product.
All right, welcome back. It's still Saturday specials on BCOS television, and we are discussing the Obiwe abductee rescue mission critical analysis. And Comrade Rotimi, we are about to go ahead with my question about the arraignment of 3 out of the 8 and what exactly is going on.
Thank you very much. Yes, first, I'm not privy to what has transpired. I'm not a security man. But secondly, when you talk about the issue of security, it's not everything that is put in the public domain. Not everything. You must have concluded something before you put into the public domain. Otherwise, you jeopardize your work, your investigation. Now, we don't know whether there are still some information, the investigation still ongoing about those remaining 5, or whether there are something for security reasons they are still trying to get in so that they can get it right. I don't know. But as time goes on, we will know what is going on in the system, whether they are ready to charge the remaining 5 to court, or they want to kill them some ready. which I also support. Although somebody said these are the extrajudicial steps to kill them, some really.
Right.
But mind you, terrorists themselves are merciless. They don't have mercy. The end government just say you want to kill them, some really. I think it's a welcome development. But all said and done, let's wait for the government for some days to know whether they will tell us what is happening to the remaining 5. Then we'll know where to take it, where to go from there.
And the issue of their family members, we're talking about it behind, and we're saying why they should just round up their family members, and of course, because they are also beneficiaries of the proceeds, they also know what they were involved in. They knew what these guys were up to. But beyond that, talking about the rescue mission itself, was there any? Do you sense a form of negotiation during that rescue mission, or do you think it was just because of their family members these terrorists released these victims willingly? Doctor?
Oh, okay, you see, from the statements from the military, especially from the discussion with the GOC and the other individuals, there were negotiations. In the first instance, the negotiation began when the pictures of their family members were shown to them. That look, your family members are in our custody. So they will now leave them to decide what do you want to do. We want to release our people, and if a single one of them, any single one that dies, that means we will take off one of your own family members. And they knew that the security people were serious about that. That's a form of negotiation. Another negotiation is that they cannot just invade the camp without having collateral damages, especially among the children and even the adults. So what they agreed together is that they will create a path for the terrorists to move out of the camp, and then after moving out of the camp, then they will take possession of the victims. And that was exactly what took place. And it was in the process of, letting them go through the route that was created for them to move out of the camp that they now engaged them according to what they said. So it was both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches that took place during the negotiation. But there were also a lot of negotiation because, of course, few days before the rescue, in quote, the security needed to allow maybe foods and other resources into the camp. And I think they did that because otherwise those children might not have survived one way or the other. Okay, so they needed to nourish them. And they, of course, they would have negotiated with the terrorists to allow some of these things to come into the camp for the survival of the children. And thank God, virtually all the 44 were rescued, apart from the ones that were killed by the terrorists themselves. So, a lot of negotiation took place. It was both kinetic and non-kinetic, which was why I say those are, classic anti-terrorist activities, which happened there. And thank God that the casualties were very minimal. So, of course, in that kind of a situation, you have to negotiate.
Okay, go ahead, Florence.
Something still baffles me. The being able to track their family members and get to them that they could, arrest them and use them as bait against these terrorists. If we could, do this, what has been happening over time that, we've been having these cases and we are paying ransom instead of actually rescuing the victims? What has changed in this? Is it because it's
the shocking thing
government
about this whole process? The security people already have profiles of those critical elements. Why are they, doing this last one that they did, so that they could release 2 of their commanders? That was the basic reasons. Okay, getting money is secondary as far as they are concerned. And part of the things that the security people needed to catch some of the terrorists alive is to obtain this kind of information. Once they have their profile, it becomes easier to access their family, to locate their family will not be difficult. Whether they are in even whether they are in Niger Republic, whether they are anywhere, they will locate them. So already intelligence work are taking place over that, over the day. So they know the particular individuals and they know the cells that is carrying out these activities. Already the terrorists have cells all over the country. So they know the particular cells.
Now,
so
if we have this information, if they have this information available, does it mean we are outnumbered? Does it mean our security agencies are outnumbered in terms of the number of? Because if you have this information, you have their database. According to what was released during this Oriri rescue mission, I think about almost 10 states, their families were traced back to almost 10 states.
Yes, of course.
Now, if we have their database, the terrorists and their family database, why are we holding back in rescue mission across Nigeria, especially when we look at what is happening in the north, northeast, northwest, north central? Why are we holding back? But before you answer that, Doctor, let's take it to Comrade Agboluwaji.
Well, why are we holding back? Which I don't know. But from experience, probably the government is trying to ensure that they are preventing some collateral damage. Mind you, this issue of security you are saying is more than security. It has political element. As it has political element, they also have some sympathizer in government. All these governments are trying to be very diplomatic. Then if I take you back to what happened at Oriri, does that mean the government did not have power or does not have power to bombard them? They had, but as Dr. rightly said, they were trying to prevent some collateral damage. Now, what Doctor said something that they left them so that they can have access to some food. So before their rescue, a security expert told me that that very soon this will be released because they've captured them, but they just left an access for them to be so that they can get food. What we are saying is that there are some things security people are doing that are very sensible, they are very logical, that will give us ultimate results. But people are just emotional that let's do this, why not do this way? But they themselves, they are experts, they know what can give them the results. I think probably that's why they have been patient enough to ensure that they are providing these people. When they provide them, they go and take them and they go and negotiate on the position of strength. Because if you are negotiating on the position of weakness, you will not get results. I think what happened in Oriri, probably what they want to do again is they want to negotiate on the position of strength so that they can get results. I think that's what I can say from that angle.
Talking of negotiation from the position of strength, I mean, away from that, actually, I wanted to talk about what you mentioned about being politically minded. Let's look at the governor calling on the United Nations, coming to intervene, to investigate this matter, and he's saying that he is also suspecting some foul play. What do you think of the government calling on the United Nations?
Did he say he's suspecting some foul play?
I mean, when we talk about interpreting and of course, summarizing what the governor said,
you can interpret it.
He wants the United Nations to also investigate this issue because he feels like there is more to it than just the abduction issue. Comrade.
Well, first, the governor is the chief security of the state. And mind you, there are some intelligence report that comes to his office every morning, to stable every morning. Then there are some information we will not be privy to, which he may be privy to. Then he is calling for UN or other international bodies to come and investigate them. Let them go and do their work. But as they are doing this, the most important thing is that we must preserve our local and national institution. That's just what I'm saying. If they want to come and investigate, let them come and investigate. But this country must be preserved. We must not open ourselves to international community. That would be very dangerous for us to do.
But this is not the first time we are seeing, exactly. And this is also not the first time we are seeing such a call, calling on you. Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians also do it.
Yes,
a lot of politicians do it. A lot of our leaders
did it.
But, Doctor, what do you think about the call by Governor Makinde?
There were also political dimensions to all of these issues. It is an extension of the political dimensions that we are witnessing now. Initially, remember, there were a lot of speculations. Some in the opposition were even saying the state government actually orchestrated it. The federal government initially were reluctant. They didn't even send anybody to go and commiserate with the governor until the pressure from the public, came up very strongly. And, there were a lot of insinuations. It was orchestrated by the state. It was orchestrated by the federal government. It was orchestrated so that politics, they can derive political benefit from it. So that was the reason. Because some even accuse the governor that you get a lot of security votes. So why is this happening in your state? Maybe some are saying it's an excuse to spend the security. That was, I think, why the state governor called for neutral investigation of all of this, thing. Well, there's nothing bad in it if you have international human rights organization, because the UN cannot even, because to them it's just part of politics of Nigeria and they don't want to be involved. But international human rights organization can decide to carry out, a neutral investigation and come up with a report, which I think is good. But again, I think it's a domestic policy. So why are we involving external bodies? Okay, so if the external bodies come out with a report one way or the other, it will still be politicized. Some will say, the report has favored us. The other party will say, no, it is against them. So
we're looking at what is in the public, the controversy surrounding it. Was it proper for him to do that? Or is it too early? Because, when they want to do the investigation, they would involve these children. And we can understand the states that they are in right now. Is it too early for him to do that? Do you feel like he should have waited? Because I was discussing with a friend, and he feel like they should have actually waited before they address, try to bring external body to address this and start doing investigations.
You see, they can carry out the investigation at any time, as far as I'm concerned. And such investigation should even be extended to the terrorists and those who carried out the dastardly act. We must know the motives and we must know who are supporting them. Because when we know the motive, when we see how they did it, if we don't know those who are backing them up, it will all be in vain. So it will be an extensive thing. But I think the most important thing is to chart the way to end this, all of the security challenges. That's the most important thing. You see, one of the things that I see that is different from what we have been doing in the past, even the international human rights bodies are quiet this time. They're silent. In the past, they will say the terrorists also have rights. They do this, they do that, but you don't hear them now. Because already, everybody has seen that these people are not likely to stop.
Terrorists have rights.
Of course. A lot of that happened in the Northeast.
Doctor, we'll talk about that. Let's go to the commercial break, and when we come back, we'll address terrorists having rights. Do stay with us.
Are you passionate about securing a promising future for children and contributing to quality education? Then join forces with us, your state citizens, philanthropists, alumni associations, esteemed companies, and distinguished individuals that home and abroad under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde. Your state government has taken measures to ensure that every child has access to quality education. With the Oyo State Education Trust Fund, we've provided textbooks, constructed and renovated school buildings, among others, but we can't do it alone. Be part of this giant strides through contributions in various forms. For more information and clarification, please call 0818-194-7496 or 0706-943-8519. This message is from the Oyo State Education Trust Fund under the leadership of its chairman, Barrister Rahman Abiodun Abraham.
Thank you very much for staying with us. Well, before we went on that break, Florence, talking about terrorists having rights, but beyond terrorists having rights, Doctor, let's look at the issue of, or still on that, let's not, take it away from that, especially given the fact that Florence is surprised that terrorists have rights. But when we have issues where terrorists are being shielded, terrorists are being covered, protected one way or the other, how do you leave? What do you leave the common man to in terms of security? We talked about behind cameras. We talked about the issue of the farmer who was attacked in his on his farmland. He eventually overpowered the header or the terrorist in question. He killed the guy, and right now he's been sentenced to life imprisonment. Of course, the case has been appealed. But when we talk about self-defense, you are attacking a terrorist that is trying to kill you, defending yourself. But unfortunately, because of our law, you are being tried, and of course, it's not still in your favor. What do we say about the safety of Nigerians in instances like this, comrade?
Well, no law is absolute. People will say where your right ends is where my own starts.
Yeah.
But mind you, any law that lacks human face, that is not law. That law should be done away with. The case you cited, that somebody overpowered somebody that wanted to kill him, and the person that survived was sentenced, that is not fair enough. That is not fair enough. But I'm happy that you say the case is still on appeal now. I pray the person will get justice. But one thing is we need to look at our law holistically. A law that is advocating the right of terrorists, that law is not fair. And every law needs to be fair to some extent. Then we need to look at some things that need to be done right so that we will not be promoting terrorism. People say that any law that fails to punish bad behaviors, such a law will be promoting bad behaviors. If a law is not strong enough to punish terrorists, that means we are ready to promote terrorism. What we are saying is let us look at some laws that are weak, that can help us end this situation that is happening in the country. Let us strengthen our law so that we can get to the root of this matter and get to the end of terrorism in this country.
All right, Doctor, you wanted to say something
about
that?
The way the law perceive certain things are different. Especially our judges, the way they perceive things. And they base their decision on the evidences, and the interpretation and how the prosecutor present the cases. For example, nobody is tagged a terrorist. A Nigerian or a human being is a human being until you prove that this person is a terrorist. If in your case you don't have sufficient evidence to prove that he's a terrorist and is the one that is invading the other person's farm, the judge will just take it like that, that somebody innocently walked into a farm and then you shot the person and then the person died and then you are guilty. Okay? So it is the evidences that is provided by the law. I dare say that we have sufficient law to prosecute terrorists in this country, because there are anti-terrorist laws and the rest. But you also need to back those laws with evidences that these individuals are terrorists, and you also need to provide what makes them terrorists before the judge now interprets what you have presented, and then there will be response from the defendant and all that. So it's a whole lot of processes, and if it's not handled well, and I'm sure that is one of the reasons why those who are prosecuting these Orire terrorists are doing them in batches. The three that are being prosecuted, of course, they must have made sure that there are sufficient evidences to convict them, no matter, because they have released terrorists in this country before. Don't forget that they also have political backers. There are some people on the corridor of politics that that are supporting them and are backing them. So if the government prosecutors are not strong in their evidences and in their prosecution, they will always escape. So the rest of the terrorists, I'm very sure that that's one of the reasons why they are not presenting them yet. They need to gather evidences, and individuals to support, that will be witnesses in court. Otherwise, you will just hear that after a year or two, the terrorists are released, and people will complain. After a while, they will keep quiet.
But are we not seeing that in the case of the issue of the radicalization and reintegration? Is that not what we are seeing? Although, I think sometimes last week or 2 weeks ago, the government have come out to say they are putting that particular program on hold. But we have seen that happen in recent times. In fact, for a while now, we've been talking about reintegrating them and putting them into the Nigerian army system. What's that to say about?
There is an interesting story. Maybe I'll quickly relate it there concerning that. Some of those so-called repentant terrorists, Nigerian army rejected them because of the past experiences. That these people will never be completely repenting. So, I mean, they have been serving as anti-intelligence problem in the Nigerian army. So somebody now came up and suggested, if you are sure that they have repented and they have also been trained in security matters, why don't you let them be guarding the governors, the senators? Why don't you let them be protecting them, so that after doing that effectively, then the public can begin to consider them?
The trust can be
The
there.
trust can be established. Since then, we have not had anything from the
And
governor.
of course, now it has been put on hold. But when we look at issues like that, comrade, talking about repentant terrorists, reintegrating them back into the society, the same society where they have caused a lot of havoc, the same society where so many people have lost their family members because of them. How do we relate to this, to the mindset of our leaders in terms of policy making and law?
They are not relatable. No. How do you explain? For instance, let's look at what happened to Oriri as a case study. 3 teachers died in the process.
They killed them.
Yeah, they killed 3 teachers in the process. 1 during the operation, then 2
while in
they are
captivity. In fact, we did not hear of the second person that was killed.
Yes, it was when
after they were released.
How do you explain to them that somebody that killed their father is the one living in our street? How do we explain that? We are not talking about putting them into the Nigerian army. In the society, we will be happy to. No, even when you are a bishop, you will be happy seeing the person that killed your family members. There is no logic in what they are doing. I don't know where they got that concept from. I don't know whether doctor, you are an intellectual in security. Where did the decoration? Where did it come from? Did anybody recommend that one to them that come bring these people to what?
This policy was actually initiated during Buhari's regime.
Yes, no, that's what we are talking about. No, a lot of things happen in this country that are not palatable. Now, honestly, you recall on this platform, I've said over and over again that anybody that is a terrorist or that is a sympathizer of terrorists, they should be treated in such a way that will terminate their life. I think that should be the case. Instead of saying you are bringing them back to, which society are you bringing them to? What is the evidence that these people have been radicalized? Even if they have been radicalized, does that mean they can't? I think justice should be allowed to prevail. As far as our law does not say that you should reintegrate criminal into, why are we not integrating armed robber into the society?
Comrade, are you saying justice doesn't prevail in Nigeria?
Justice, no, that's not justice. That's not justice. If we are reintegrating terrorists, then armed robbers should be reintegrated.
We have situations like that where they, later release them.
And they are not serving their terms. No, justice have been served before they have faced the consequence before they came back to the society. Not that the government even integrate them. They've gone to prison to go and learn lessons.
They have been reformed.
They are passed through correctional center. Then before they came back to society, they've started judgment. They've started justice. It's different from terrorists that they are even giving some award, giving some things. That means you are encouraging, if you are doing that, we are encouraging terrorism. There's no logic, there's no science, there's no morality, there's no even God in that.
So what would you say is the security challenges that we are still facing? What is the gap in our security agency? Because you spoke about resources and, we have the budget for security and it's a huge amount of money. So where exactly are we still getting it wrong? If we have this money being dispersed into the security body as a whole, or we are still have, is it intelligence or what exactly is the problem? Where are we getting it wrong still as a country?
Well, I think at this stage, I think confounding security with politics is a very big problem, and that is what we have been experiencing. You see criminals being protected by political elements from and being prevented from facing justice. Just like he said, anybody who has committed a crime must face justice. Before you even think about reintegrating such person back into the society, you must make sure that he has faced justice and then he has been reformed effectively, and there are evidences that are taking place before you even talk of integrating such individuals to the into the society. But what we have been experiencing, especially in the Northeast, is that they created a camp. They said they are radicalizing them, and all that and all that. But they put aside all the atrocities that these individuals have committed. They've dispersed a lot of communities whose population are now in refugee camps. They've killed a lot of people, and yet you say you are radicalizing them for a few weeks or a few months. After this, you now are open to put them back into the society. To be doing what? Sometimes we even put money into their pocket, to be able to buy more weapons, to continue to render havoc to the societies. So those are the things that we need to critically look at. And if we don't do that, there is no effort that we'll take. And then especially, this comes to my mind, there are many criminals coming up. We are not expanding the prison. And that's why it was easy to release them. Because sometimes when you now think about it, where will you even keep them? And it happens among the security. Where will you keep them? How do you feed them? And what measures are you going to take to make sure that, they are not doing that again? No, absolutely nothing is being done. I don't know of
the correctional facilities are not enough to hold.
They are not enough to hold criminals. Look at, how many correctional facilities do we have for a population of 250? I doubt if we have up to 36 in this country. That is equivalent of 1 per state. And look at criminal elements in each state. So those are part of the problems. As we are thinking of development, we are also thinking of how to handle criminals and expand holding facilities for them.
Talking of these criminals, especially these terrorists, Doctor, when we look at some of these terrorists, it has been established over time that they are not even, some of them are not Nigerians.
Yes.
Just last week, the Nigerian army revealed the picture of 2 people, a Palestinian, I think, trainer and a Moroccan doctor, who were among these terrorists. Now, when we capture most of these, or some of these terrorists who are foreigners, do you think they should be repatriated back to their country?
No, not without punishment. Because if they catch a Nigerian in their own country, the Nigerian will first face the punishment in their own country before they now repatriate them back
to their country.
And that will even be on diplomatic note. They will hand them over with the assurance that your government will continue with the punishment and the reformation. Okay, so they can't just if they do that, they are going to come back again. So that is on an international level, and there are ways of handling
such issues.
Yes.
But the issue of the United Nations, now coming back to United Nations, and of course relating it to terrorism, and of course inflow and outflow of terrorists outside Nigeria into the country. We saw that the United Nations intervened in the issue of Chibok girls in 2014, and of course Dapchi school abduction also in 2018. And I want to believe that's one of the reasons why Governor Makinde is also calling on the United Nations to investigate this particular Orire incident. But when we have terrorists coming into the nation, more like a chain of foreign terrorists and local terrorists, how do we begin to manage that as a country? How do we block that flow of, number one, information, maybe financial inflow and outflow, maybe weapons? What do we do to curtail that gap in Nigeria? Before I come to you, Comrade, let's have Doctor speak on that.
You see, those responsibilities are the local responsibility of our government, and we cannot outsource it to any international body. Protecting your border from infiltration by terrorists, protecting the border from infiltration of armed dealers. Those are very, very critical. And making sure that even when they come in, they are incapacitated. Those are domestic issues that our security people should be handling. You see, where we got it wrong initially is that we perceive terrorists coming from other countries. I don't want to label anybody now, but they say, they look like our brother, so let them in and let them be free. It's a free world.
They also speak same language.
Whereas even in the West Africa, there are protocols that guide the migration of individuals. As long as you are a foreign nationals, there are things that you must fulfill. But I don't think anybody cares about all that until we strengthen all of those issues locally. like I always say, no international community will come to your aid. It's like when you have political problem politically, you are now asking the United Nations to come in to do what? Are you their only responsibilities? The UN has so many responsibilities across the world that your own political problem is your problem. Okay, the best you can do is to seek help, bilaterally or unilaterally, as the case may be, as we are doing, with the US. Okay, we are already getting because initially our troops are trained to fight external invasion, not internal domestic problems, and so we have to be retrained. The same happened to anti-terrorism. We have to retrain, our soldiers.
Is that why we are having insecurity linger for this long?
That is what I'm saying. So if we don't strengthen all of those issues and strengthen the domestic security, there's no way we will get over it. And that is why I'm saying that, of course, we are beginning to see evidences of, some of our security people being trained with counter-terrorism efforts. And, those tactics are what we're beginning to see. But we need to strengthen those training and those activities and provide resources locally. Once we have done that, we get over this problem without even seeking the assistance of any foreign countries. And don't forget, Nigeria, in the past, we have gone out to also support other countries, in matters of insecurity before. So why is it that we cannot
solve our own issue? Let's come to that.
When we are having from security,
when we are helping other countries, neighboring countries, solve insecurity, but here we cannot even solve our own insecurity or even bring it to the barest minimum. What do you have to say about that? And also the issue of border, when we have migration of foreigners into the country, like Doctor said earlier, there are some Western countries in Nigeria that you have to go through strict procedures to get into their country. But why does it seem like in Nigeria it is very easy? Let's look at some states in the north, like you rightly mentioned earlier. It is very easy. You just walk in and out. There is no clear border. You cannot even say this is Cameroon and this is Nigeria. It is very easy. What should we begin to do? How should we begin to have that conversation, especially if we are talking about strengthening the security architecture of the nation?
Well, to start with, Nigeria is a sovereign state, as a sovereign country. Then, if we want to secure this country, we need to start with the protection of the borders. If we protect the border, we don't allow anybody to come in anyhow. Like some people say in Sokoto, you can just wake up in Nigeria, and you can sleep in Nigeria. The next day you move to another country.
You just walk.
You just walk distance to each other. That there is no security guiding you, which protect you from moving unnecessarily. Now, which should not be so, because we have some countries in the world that they are close to each other, but you can't just move there anyhow. You can't just enter anyhow. But unfortunately, in this country, that's not the case. We've allowed something to happen. That's why we are experiencing what we are experiencing now. The security challenge we have today, we planted the seed years back, and we are just reaping. We are just plucking the fruit now. Unfortunately, the fruit is bitter. Now, what can we do to ensure that this doesn't happen, that we reduce security challenge in the country? We first need the major thing, the big elephant in the room is what? We need to reduce politics from security. You could recall about 5 years ago, there was one man called Dr. Obadiah Milafia. Obadiah Milafia was former central bank, was former deputy governor of the central bank. He came out one day and said, one of the northern governors is the head of terrorists in this country. Some months after, the man died. I don't know whether you heard about Obadiah Milafia. He contested as presidential candidate of ADC in probably 2019, thereabout. No, what that man said, people may say just a statement, but that statement is deep. Is another governor, one of the northern governors is the head of terrorists. And mind you, there was a time El-Rufai said, former governor of Kaduna State, he said they have to trace the terrorists to their country and they pay them. When you are paying terrorists, you are empowering the terrorists. Now, that is politics. We have mixed terrorists, we have mixed politics with security. And when you mix politics with security, you can't get results. Until we separate politics from security, we won't get any results.
So how do we separate it now?
Now the government need to stand the street, and the government to have what is called there's this thing this language I use. The government must stand on the street and be ready to confront this monster. The day the president of this country say I'm ready to do this thing, we are going to get it done. Now when the government decided that we are going to rescue these Oriri people, few weeks after we got results, until the government is ready to deal with this matter, we are going nowhere. Let the government stand the street. The president, we are sending a message to the president, stand your feet that this terrorists will not destroy this country. We are going to deal with anybody that is involved, irrespective of their political lineage or political standing. Mind you, the government make sure that they trace the family members of those that adopted Ogbomoso people. They can do the same thing in other places, in other parts of the country, so that we can get to the root of this matter. If we are not ready to do that, we are going nowhere.
So you think, apart from the government even stepping up or stepping into the situation, because of course that's what we've been hearing, government to come to tell us, and we've been hearing a lot of neutralizing, the army neutralizing this virtually every day. We talk about the Operation Hadinkai, we talk about a lot of operations in the north. Still, we are hearing or talking about several issues of insecurity in the country. But apart from the government also coming to own up or stepping up beyond this issue, when we have governors in some states who feel helpless about the situation of those states, sometimes last year, the governor of Governor Mutfwang came out to talk about, of Plateau State, thank you very much, came out to talk about, he felt like he was helpless and talked about how they probably do not even know what to do anymore. Foreigners are the ones invading their state. We also talked about Governor of Plateau State, when over 200 people were killed in that state in an overnight attack. From that moment till now, we've talked about series of operations, series of deaths that have been happening in that particular state. Still, it's a continuing event. How do you think, apart from the federal government now, state government, especially where they are not even they are not in charge of security in their state, how do you think they should begin to own up to the insecurity challenges in their state?
State governments, right?
State governments.
They need to work with the federal government. They need to work with the federal government to ensure, if they work collaboratively, they will get results, and the government is sincere about it. Now, if the state government is making effort, but the federal government is not sabotaging them, can they get any result? They can't get anything. They are going nowhere. But that is aside. No, the issue of Plateau you mentioned, I think is deeper than this problem we have in the country. Before we had the issue of terrorism in this country, Plateau has become a bedlam. I was in Plateau 2006, 2007. I knew the crisis happened during that period. Even before I got there in 2006, we had a lot of story that this state is not safe. Then the issue of Plateau is many layers ahead of Nigeria's problem. Then if we want to tackle the Plateau state, we need to use the Plateau approach. With the approach we are going to use, it must be stronger than what we use for the country, because there are many issues. The Fulani are claiming that the north does not belong to them. Why the Birom are saying that this is our father's land? Some people want to handle the political system of Jos. Why people are saying this is our father's land? So the issue of Plateau is deeper than what we are talking in Nigeria. And the government need to sit down, look at it critically, and use the approach that can solve the problem.
Thank you very much, Comrade. Doctor, last week, the Chief of Army Staff came out to say that any army that if an army sees a terrorist, it should shoot on sight. What do you make of this statement? And if you do not shoot on sight, then you are probably a sympathizer of that terrorist.
Thank you. I mean, before I speak on that, I think this state policing that we're in the process of enacting into law will bring a big relief to states and governors. But it also depends on how they handle it. If the state policing becomes a reality and they are well resourced, that's also very important. By the governors, it will bring a lot of reliefs, because at least they will act to protect the territory of the state that is funding them. That's very basic. Now coming back to the statement of,
since you've mentioned the issue of state police, there's also so much fear, concerns about being abused, the issue of funding, like you mentioned, will they be adequately equipped?
Exactly.
And of course, how can the
issues.
synergy between the state police and the
Federal
force,
police.
the federal police, do you think they can work hand in hand? Do you think they can be, the synergy can be there?
There should be no problem with that, because there are models across the world. We have many federal entities. For example, in America, there were even county policing, apart from the state, apart from the FBI, So, I mean, each of them have their functions already cut in the Constitution. And if that is followed, there won't absolutely no problem. But like you mentioned, the resources that goes into establishing and running state policing is not cheap. And it is only a determined governor who, that can run it successfully. So, as for the making use of it for political purposes, there are also solutions into that, and there are constitutional provisions for that. I believe all those things, are being discussed in detail.
But the bigger question is it sustainable?
Of course, that's what we are saying. Other entities are sustaining it. There are even local government policing.
What about Nigeria?
We can. Why not? We have the resources. All the security votes that goes into the state, where does it go? There are huge amount of money every month. What do they do? Nobody's accounting for that. If we spend that judiciously, we'll be able to run an effective state policing system.
But we've been talking about the judicially you mentioned now. When we talk about corruption, the issue of accountability.
There are also mechanisms to undo that. It is only if we don't want to put that mechanisms in place. Okay? That is just it. The budget processes, everything. I mean, there will be state police commission. And, part of the constitutional mechanisms to prevent abuse is to make sure that neutral people, are put on it's not the governor that is going to be nominating all the members. That's part of the thing. And then the issue of corruption. I mean, if everybody knows the amount of budget that is given to the state policing, and then we monitor it, when are they releasing each tranches of the budget, and for what purpose? How much is going to get weapons? How much is going into training? How much is going to servicing? And
Nigerians should begin to question and
that is it.
Activities.
So any governor that does is maximum 4 years, and then he's chucked out of the place, and then he's prosecuted.
All right, doctor, as we begin to wrap up, before I come to Comrade, just as the question I asked earlier about the Chief of Army Staff telling Army security agencies that when you say terrorist, you shoot on sight, and if you do not, that means you're a sympathizer. Why did it take us this long to come to that or to give that instruction?
Just like we have been saying, it's the political interference. When some elements have been arrested, and some people will say, they are children. We all know all of these criminals. They are the son of Lagwaja, they are the son of Temedo. His uncle is a member of one house of assembly, this blah, blah, blah. And so when you are asked to go and arrest and attack them, you take all those considerations in your mind before approaching them. But if you treat them as criminals, you won't even think twice. When they shoot at you, you shoot back, you kill them, that's all. So it's all those political mixing with security that is causing that that defense chief to make that statement. But thank God that there's a semblance of sanity now in the way the government is controlling the police. I mean the criminals, and that is why the defense chief could even make that statement. I'm sure that we used to have a past defense chief that would never make that statement because of of ingrained political involvement.
All right, Comrade, as we begin, with time to go, time is fast spent. What would you have to say about, number one, or your state as a whole now, especially when we talk about the rescue of these abductees? How do we begin to protect Oyo State? We've been hearing issues of isolated kidnappings here and there, and security agencies have been stepping up. We will give kudos to them. They've been really stepping up. But how do we protect Oyo residents? And of course, talking of the security architecture of Nigeria, how do we begin to reinforce our men into securing the nation?
Well, in Oyo State, we need to deploy more security operatives. then the Amotekun Corps need to be more empowered. If they have not optimized the benefits in that Amotekun, if they are well empowered, they go to every nook and cranny, they can supply intelligence to mainstream security agents. No one thing, those that steal, some people will not plan to steal, or those that commit crime, they may not plan to commit crime. But when they observe that there are lapses, they will commit that crime. Then the moment they observe that there are security agents everywhere, every nook and cranny of the state, they will think twice before they commit crime. When they observe that there is no lapses anywhere, they will not the commission of crime will be minimized. Let us empower the Amotekun Corps. They should be empowered so that they can function effectively. Let me just add this on state police. No system can be perfect in this world. Even the America with this world, let them join forces with the UK. Let them bring a system. No system can be perfect. The issue of state police, if we are looking at the downside of it, we don't want to. We are robbing ourselves for the benefit. One of the silver bullets that can address security challenge in this country is proper framework for state police. The moment we do that, the level of insecurity in this country will reduce drastically.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Shola Ishola, a security scholar and also a lecturer at the University of Ibadan, and Comrade Rotimi Agboluaje, a policy analyst and a journalist par excellence. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you speak on security issue. And this is definitely a continuing conversation, but we have to anchor here. I will be right back after a global update. Please stay with us.
It's another edition of Global Update on Saturday Special, and I am Bimbo Akombi. The United States has launched major airstrikes on Iran for the 6th consecutive night, killing at least 8 people and injuring 20 others as the conflict continues to escalate across the Middle East. Officials in the southern Iranian city of Bandar Abbas said the latest string incoming Iranian missiles. The latest developments have heightened fears of a wider region busiest oil shipping route.